The BigAl Podcast with your host, Al Bishop, unfiltered and uncut.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 50th episode of the podcast. I have a returning guest, and seeing as it was a fan favorite, the mighty Richie Quan is back to come and spit some fire with us. It's also your birthday. Happy birthday, Richie.
Thank you very much.
Hope you have an awesome day, and thanks for coming through, man.
Thank you.
Cool, man. What's happening, bro? There's so much. I don't even know where to really start with you. Let's have a look at the fighter. You obviously had a bit of a role to play there with the Mars team. What was that all like? Almost coaching your coach.
That was very cool, man. Like, it was a good experience. It was nice to see the Mart in a different role, and being there, but behind scenes, letting him take that role as a coach on the show. Me playing more the behind the scenes, and we had some really good talent on the show. Had some good friends. It was nice to get feedback from the international guys. They absolutely loved the way we did things, our system. A lot of them actually want to come back and do camps with us. Okay. At least 90% of the guys. And these are guys from top gyms as well. And I might be going over to do seminars at their gyms. So it was a good experience. Reality TV is not really my thing. Yeah. I'm not a fan of being in front of cameras. Sure. and all of that. So it took time to getting used to, but I wasn't on the show as much. Obviously, it's centered around the Mart Penne. So I was there for fight nights, wrapped the hands, helped warmed up. I had a relationship with the fighters behind the scenes. And that's how I like to keep it, It was nice to just see the Mart do his thing. And the show is amazing. It's a bit funny how they've cut it. They're making the Mart out that he's a bad guy. I've been away for a little bit, but I see on social media a lot of people are giving the Mart a little bit of slack on how the show is presented him. It's funny to talk about reality TV, because in a way it's not reality TV. It's still been edited and cut.
Yeah, sure. It was a topic I've tried to avoid, because it's, I don't know, in the UFC, when they did the Ultimate Fighter, if you listen to a lot of people that have been on that show, they mention the same thing that you're mentioning now. I think Ronda Rousey was one who spoke about it quite a bit. And she came out and said, the way they make you come across in that show is very dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, you never... They always need to portray someone in a certain way. And you don't get to decide who that is. Whoever's making those cuts decides who that is. Mm. And it seems exactly like you said, unfortunately for DeMart, that's him. Yeah. I think there's in the little bit we've seen, there's quite a theme, like, Urshad kind of throwing shots that he's always there training his guys and DeMart's not. And that seems to be the theme across all Ultimate Fighters. Like, someone's always there and someone's always not. You know what I mean? Which is quite strange. And it's, unfortunately for DeMart, he's been thrown into that role where he's the bad guy of the show, which I struggle to believe. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, chatted to DeMart multiple times. Like, I really struggle to believe, but unfortunately, that's the way it's being picked out, and it's a tough one, man. It's a dangerous thing. Well, I suppose you got to
TV, eh?
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's a show, and guys that understand that will kind of understand it. The fans that are the Mart Penne fans will know who he is in reality. I know what went on because, I saw the amount of training DeMart missed because he was with the team. DeMart would bring them to the gym, even though they weren't allowed at the gym to do sessions. Sometimes I'll walk out of there with DeMart at 10 o'clock at night. So
yeah, sure.
There's two sides to the story in every story.
Yeah.
So guys must just be a little bit more
Calm
intelligent.
down a little bit. Yeah, I think it's always going to be one of those weird things, especially because it's the first of its kind and the first we're really seeing in the country, and it's obviously going to be the pilot, if we put it that way, So it's.
But as a show, an absolutely amazing show. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. UFC did a great job with it. Yeah, the house was beautiful. Production team were very friendly. Where they actually did the fights was very cool, like a little private EFC every fight.
Sure.
So that was very cool.
Okay, that's cool. And you've said before, like, we've spoken about South African talent available here compared to what's overseas, and especially your guys have said that we are on the par, if not better, in most cases on talent. Did you still see that across the talent that was available in the show? Was the overseas talent maybe not as competitive as what's available here in South Africa?
No, this topic is, guys must throw it down the drain. Like, you're going to see on the show.
Sure.
I'm not going to say anything, but you guys are going to see. We're on par. South African community, you know, when the Springboks are on top, everyone loves them.
Sure.
When they're on the bottom, everyone hates them.
Sure.
You know, that's how it is. But in terms of the fight game, there's guys that are doing it right out there and guys that are doing it wrong. But I don't think we fall off at all, and this show will show. Especially with me being there with the Mart, seeing these guys from big gyms. I'm talking about massive names. And when we're coaching or they're training with some of the guys, you know, there's no magic. It's just put in the work, be intelligent, do your job, your skill set increases, you know. And I think this topic of, are we there, it's an old topic now. Guys must put it to sleep because we are there.
Sure. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that all unfolds. It's a funny thing. South Africa's quite weird like that. They see like a name coming from overseas and automatically you think the local fighter's got a problem, you know what I mean? But it's actually the other way around, which I try to say to people. I'm like, but just because this dude's coming from a foreign land means nothing, you know what I mean? Like he's not earning some extra values there, you know, which is quite interesting. A lot of guys seem to still operate like that. You're like, you know, geez, you know, this guy's coming from overseas, like they have this whole thing. Or half the time guys, I mean, like for example, like Max Merton sticks out from the show from Germany. Like I don't know what the MMA scene is like in Germany. It's obviously not massive, otherwise you'd be hearing about it, you know. And you could almost see in his style, like I don't know, I think obviously where he was, his size, strength maybe got him through a lot. But when it came to a bit technical, he got a bit found out, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I mean, that episode's been shown. Right?
yeah.
Same with me. I thought this guy was going to be a beast. I didn't really see much of him.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
This is my thing, is that guys have just got to understand how far we've come, and what also, I don't blame guys because guys don't travel.
Sure.
You know, we've got guys in the jiu-jitsu industry in South Africa that are traveling a lot, guys in Cape Town, you know, and they're doing well in the international scene, but you don't hear people talking about it. But so even if we had a guy go to the UFC and becomes top 3, there will still be people here saying the same old shit. That's what I've realized. You know?
Yeah, sure.
We had JP Bays. He was the youngest guy to ever enter the UFC in South Africa. You know, you don't hear anything about it anymore. You just write the guy off. He's fucking 21 years old. Like,
yeah,
who the hell's done that? What were you doing when you're 21 years old?
Yeah, I actually had that argument with somebody. Actually, they were saying about JP. They were like, yeah, but he was there and he didn't get through. I'm like, but like, there's a lot of factors you have to consider. Everything was last minute. It's a big step up. You go and watch the fight. Have you actually watched the fight? No, I haven't. So what are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, people like saying like, yeah, but who has he fought? I'm like, but do you know how old he is? Oh, he must be like 27, 28. I'm like, no, start again. Go back. It's a kid you're talking about. He's still a youngster coming through the ranks. And because if one fight didn't go his way, now you're going to absolutely say this is who he is. It doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, but the UFC is different.
Buddy, yes, this really makes me boil because...
And you've had a few drinks this morning, so...
Yeah, exactly. Just, we've traveled all over now.
Sure.
You know? And my guys have trained with, I'm talking big names, and smashed them. So if I took a video of one of the guys smashing a top name in the UFC in training and posted it, then what would guys say?
Yeah.
But because there's a lot of factors, like you said, you got to take into in the fight. People don't know what happened with injuries or weight cut in the fight. It plays a massive part. If you fuck that up, it can play a massive part in your fight. But why would they understand it? All they see is when the bell goes. They don't see before that, 3 days before that, 4 weeks before that. You know, did they see JP living there for 2 months by himself
Yeah, exactly.
with no one? Did they see him cutting 5 kilos in one day that he never usually does? Oh yeah, but why did he do it then? He should have had his shit. Well, guess what? That's what the cards were dealt, and that's what happened. If you watch the fight, he dominated a veteran in the UFC totally. Because of the cut, he gassed, and the result was the result. So you're going to judge a guy on one fight, not understanding that he's the youngest guy out of Africa to ever be in the UFC. Yeah, but the thing is, I enjoy proving people wrong.
Yeah, sure.
And I've been doing that since the industry started, and people still are on my case with it, and I'll still doing my thing.
Yeah, 100%, man. Just seeing as we've mentioned JP, there's obviously it seems like the next generation has really arrived at FFM and in MMA, let's say, for example, in South Africa. You've got a very strong talent pool. Two fellas, BK, JP. There's Devin Crenier, Rudy Roots who's joined the ranks. How's that all panning out now? Obviously, when was it? The last, I think in Durban. Was it Durban? Yeah, it was like the younger generation was all there. Yeah. Different corners, different faces, which was quite cool to see.
Yeah, like we were quite busy, and kind of everywhere right now as well. But like the older generation had it hard. You know, had it really hard.
Sure.
The younger generation, I've kind of given them a little bit of slack, but I'm pulling the reins in quite hard now, and things are going to change. The guys are still doing well, but I'm going to go back to the old ways a little bit more, just because of politics and things that have gone on in life. But I still think my system, I believe in my system. I just need to be a bit stricter now, you know, with the younger generation. They know what to do as well, and their opportunities are greater than the older generation. So yeah, it is exciting. We do have quite a few guys that are coming in, but it is pretty sad because I don't have anyone after that.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in this country don't have a people after that. And it's going to be a problem. It is.
That's the next part of that was, it seems to me that the amateur scene in South Africa especially is going from bad to worse. It just seems to be declining, which is going to make things difficult. I mean, a lot of guys have come and said you don't have to have this massive booming amateur scene to have fighters. You know what I mean? And I'm like, but well, then where are you going to find them? You know what I mean? Where will they come from?
So we must get a guy into the gym, and he must go pro straight away. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Where do you think amateur organizations are failing?
I'm not blaming actually at all the amateur organizations too much. It's just I think the sport as a whole in this country is not doing their part. People don't see a future in the sport.
Sure.
That's a big thing. Mixed martial arts is hard because there's so many different facets of martial arts that you have to know. So it's time consuming. And in the amateur scene, there's not enough, in my view. They're trying to make more money than actually just putting events out. We should have an event every week, and that's a problem. So if you combined all of that, you have the biggest problem that we have in this country with mixed martial arts. And to me, or for me, in my gym, after my new generation, I don't have it. My second generation, I don't have a third. I don't really have. So we're going to be cycling second and first generation guys back and forth until when? Then a while ago, Fighters Only magazine, when it was still around, they wrote an article on me, and in the article, it's up on the gym, and the guys were amazed when they read it this year, because it said that we eventually gonna run out of amateurs, and South African fighters are gonna be fighting against internationals for their job, and eventually it's gonna be internationals and South Africans against each other, and it's gonna be a small pool of guys, and that's basically what's happening now. I mean, you can grab some Congolese guy that says he's a black belt in 10 different martial arts and a bouncer, put him in the cage, but who really wants to see that guy?
Yeah, it's a weird time at the moment, because I've also been noticing that, like, there was a time where there was like a fight star generation that everybody was talking about, and that's stopped completely. Like, it's
Completely.
I mean, with all due respect, there's a couple of guys I think still competing in those sort of things that are doing really well and perhaps will have a future, but off the top of my head I can think of maybe two.
For me to get an amateur belt is simple. Like, there's no competition out there. To do that is pretty simple, but I don't even know how many amateur events there are in Joburg right now. 6? So you're getting 6 fights in a year as an amateur.
It's a bit tedious.
Yeah.
Anyway, and another thing I wanted to talk about was yourself, for example. When we last chatted, we mentioned a couple of things about like hobbies and things like that, and your thing kind of you do so much, you know what I mean? So what is the day in the life of Richie Quan like?
It's quite funny. I'm doing a mini documentary now on that.
Okay.
It's going to be about 10 minutes where they'll kind of follow me through a few days. But yeah, I wake up about 5 o'clock. I have a daily ritual that I do. I listen to a few podcasts or audio books while I make my tea, and my wife.
Geez, there must be a long tea to listen to a whole book.
It's actually the process more than drinking the tea. I'm Asian, I gotta have that, So, and my wife makes me my smoothie, and then once I'm done that, I get my gear, head off. First session 6 o'clock, 6 to 7. Then I usually chill 7 to 8. Then I've got the next class 8 to 9:30. Then I might have a client or two. Then another roll at 11:30 to 1. Then I have a little bit of lunch. Maybe do some studying. I hold pads usually at about 3:30, and then big classes start again at about 5:30 all the way until 7:30, 8. Then I go home and I repeat it every day. And now I'm getting one of the biggest things now I'm getting into is the mental aspect of training and cognitive training games. So I've been reading some articles, and obviously with Vasilie's last boxing match, it came out that he does a lot of mental training, mind games, basically what they're called. And so the last month I've done a lot of reading on it, and I've started to implement with my boys a lot of these games. After training, I'm going to actually try convert a little room in the gym that's going to be just for that, between I'd say 20 and 40 minutes of that twice a week. And it's just got to do with colors, shapes, numbers, reactions, letters, depending on what your problem is, or left side of your brain, right side of the brain. And I actually believe that that's what separates that 1% in athletes. And guys train hard. I mean, to train hard is not hard, actually. It doesn't require any intelligence, just requires determination and consistency. But guys like Michael Phelps, guys like Usain Bolt, Vasily Lomachenko, there's a whole lot of athletes out there that people don't even realize that contribute a lot to their cognitive training, their mental side of training. And when you see the games, you kind of think it's kids' games. You're like, what the hell are these guys doing? But your brain is a muscle. So as humans, why are we not using them? Like, how many guys do you actually know that read? a lot or study.
Yeah.
What's wrong with it? Now it's like, why you do that? We're in an age that it's so easy to obtain information. So why are we not obtaining information? And not only obtaining information, like when I started a month ago doing some brain training, and after a session I did it with a few, 2-3 guys. I was doing a little bit of experiments on reaction and why guys, which side of the brain uses it and so forth. And guys were tired. Like they were like, geez, like I don't know what's going on, I'm tired now. And it's because the brain is a muscle, and you need to train it, because mixed martial arts or most sports are a visual sport, so I need to see and react.
Sure.
So why are we not training that?
Yeah, I think I've often thought about this, is like, obviously when you do a lot of social media work, you pick up quite a lot of patterns, and the hardest thing to do in the modern day time is to keep people concentrating for 30 seconds to a minute. You know what I mean? People can't. They like, everything needs to be fast, informative, and move on. I mean, people can't concentrate. They can't, like we don't, like you say, people don't read, they don't train their brain. Like it's quite hectic. There's just, you were saying, you mentioned a couple of like high-end athletes that always are able to excel beyond measure. I was listening, and I've been following, there's a race called the Moab, 238-mile endurance race. The lady and it's like not on the road, it's in the deserts in Arizona, and it's mad. It's just absolute madness. Like I didn't even know people could do stuff like that.
Ultra marathons.
Yeah, but like this is beyond ultra marathons. That's like what? It's like 450, 500 kilometers.
It's ridiculous, yeah.
And it's not over like a week. It's a couple of days.
Yeah.
And there was a lady that won it this year by like a country mile, but I think by like a day. And now everyone wants to know like what she does. And she says, like, as into what she was saying, her diet is made up of whatever she feels like. She obviously runs every single day or whatever. She doesn't run a marathon every day, but she'll get in 100 Ks in a week or whatever, 100 miles in a week. And she was saying in that the biggest part of it is in your mind, because your body can do things that you can't imagine, but your mind has to get you through it. When you physically start to feel the pain, the only thing that's going to get you through is your mind. And she's like, I mean, if you had to put her standing anywhere next to like an Olympic athlete, you would say there's no way, it's impossible. This lady can't be doing this. And it's a lot of it's based on just strength in your mind, and it's quite an interesting thing for me, because there has to be something separating every athlete from your Michael Phelps and Usain Bolt and all of these guys. There has to be something there, and I think you're obviously on the right track, but I think a lot of people have missed that track.
Yeah, if your mind breaks,
sure,
you break. But it's also not about being overconfident. That's what people, the Conor McGregor era, you know,
sure.
Everyone. You got to be realistic on what you're doing, and you got to train your body physically, including your mind and mentally, to actually adapt to the situations you're going to be put in. And I mean, guys will say then you know guys are being overconfident. That's what it is. It's not about that. I believe we don't even know 30% of what our bodies and minds can do. Yeah. I believe that, and every year we're understanding, and there's going to be those super athletes that come out, and I believe it's got to do with the brain. I mean, you've not even in mixed martial arts, like you're saying, you're talking about like these super ultra marathon guys. Like, how the hell do you run for 4 days? How do you do that? Like, for me, that's impossible for me to do. But if you get your mind right, your body will go, because your body follows what your mind does.
Sure.
In fights, I see it a lot of times, and you know, I've explained it to a lot of my guys, and now that I'm getting the guys to the corner, they can instantly tell me, Rich, XYZ turned off. And when that fighter turns off, it's not what you're going to say to them. You have to try and turn them back on into the fight. And that is the biggest thing. I mean, for us, I can instantly see when someone is turned off in a fight. Doesn't matter then what you say, what you do, that guy is not going to respond. And it's because his mind's turned off. So the biggest thing now, I feel that the physical part, the actual martial art part of a system, I think the system is pretty solid. But for the last 10 years, I've researched and taken out and put in and tried to develop better that system. And I think I've got a quite solid system. But now the next 10 years, I want to invest into the cognitive training in terms of the mental training and training the guys' minds as much as I train them physically as well. And I believe that's that 1%.
100%. Do you use any like meditation techniques for yourself personally?
Yeah, I have rituals. Meditation can go in many different ways, and a lot of guys can argue with meditation. But I have rituals in the morning and before I go to bed that calms me down, that I must do. And that helps me a lot. If I don't do that, I can feel it a lot more. Meditation is a very finical thing, I think, because meditation, a lot of people then lead into religion.
It's an important one. Like I think it comes in many different forms. Whatever way you find to free your mind of whatever's going on. You know what I mean? Like I think for a lot of us here, it's things in jiu-jitsu, for example. You find that's meditation to a lot of people, because for an hour, whatever it is in your day, you 100% just switch the rest of the world off. It doesn't matter. You can't be thinking about what's happening, because fuck, you're gonna get found out.
I just don't think people are in touch with themselves anymore. That's what it comes down to.
No concentration, man.
Yeah, they not in touch with themselves. Like, for instance, you just mentioned this ultra marathon runner. Now everyone's running to her to find out the secret.
Yeah, sure.
But what works for her, in reality, might not work for 90% of the population out there. So why don't you just become in tune with yourself and understand what works and doesn't work for yourself? Because we're all different. Diet-wise, training-wise, mentally. Some guys are good with numbers, some guys are good with colors, some guys are good with shapes, some guys are good with letters. So if you're not good with numbers, then I need to train more with numbers. Like, be in touch with yourself more, and you'll see a whole window opens up then. But I don't know, guys don't want to do it. They just,
Yeah, man, it's a strange time for society. People are, like I say, it seems that people are generally just quite distracted. They don't really know what's going on half the time. They're kind of just musing on through, you know. And it's interesting to see, like I try to say to people, like MMA especially brings a lot of these topics out because of the nature of the sport. You have to have all of these elements, you know, your diet, your training, your mind has to be right, you know, you have to be physically disciplined, you have to be mentally disciplined, and all of these things translate back to life. And that's where, for me especially, the amazement of martial arts and everything around it, you know, all the literature, all the whatever you want to look for, somehow relates back to life, you know. All like the greatest authors, or like Miyamoto, Musashi, you know, even like books like The Art of War, all of these things relate back to life. And there's somehow mixed martial artists tend to incorporate that into their lives with so much more, which everybody can do in their everyday life, you know. But like I say, it's distraction, concentration spans. I think Aubrey Marcus said it the best for me. He's like, we're just these constant pleasure monkeys that just want instant pleasure, and everything has to be
instant gratification.
Yeah, straight away. We just want it to be now. People don't want to work for anything anymore, you know. We become quite an interesting topic, and I find generally people mentally are just getting weaker and weaker and weaker, you know. Like people complain about the weirdest things. I'm like, but is your complaining going to solve your problem, or are you going to get off your ass and you're going to do something about it? There's no point in complaining, because who's coming to help you? There's nobody.
My biggest saying I tell these guys, if you're complaining but you're not doing anything about it, then don't complain.
Sure.
It's literally that simple, man. Stop complaining then. If you're not going to do anything about it, then keep quiet.
No, sure. Another thing I thought we'd do, if you're keen, is have a little look at the EFC fight card.
Yeah.
Hear it from the man himself.
Yeah, it's actually quite a tough one, and it's exciting, this one, yeah?
Yeah, it is. it's again, obviously, everything was, there was a couple of fights out of the last minute. You guys have got a big presence
Yeah.
straight through. I think everyone's very excited to see Boyd back.
Yeah.
You've got Luke Michaels at the bottom
Yeah.
in the prelim bout. He's got quite a tough fight ahead of him. Let's just look at your fighters. What do you make of? Let's start with Luke. Obviously, he's had to have quite a bit of a big adaptation, fitting in, and
Yeah, like, this is what I mean, like, the younger generation has had it easy.
sure.
I'm going to pull it back. Luke took this fight, but I think guys need to be in my system for at least a year. I
Sure.
did the same mistake with Cameron. A lot of guys must be in the system for at least a year before we start looking at fights. I did, it's been a weird time for me this last year. It's been very hard for me as a coach, and in the gym there's a lot of things that have been going down and stuff like that, so I kind of pulled away, and I became very within myself, and it's kind of caused a little bit of chaos. And Luke came at a time, I think guys need to be in the process for a year before they fight under me, and that's what was the process with the older generation. But it is what it is right now. So he's had a tough time, but he's a tough kid. So it's not like he's fighting a top 3 guy either.
Sure.
So he must bite down on that mouthpiece and do his job, buddy,
And bring it home.
and bring it home.
That's it.
So.
What do you make of Faiz Jacobs? You mentioned the Conor McGregor generation. He's not. I dig that kid. I've got quite a personal attachment to him, but he just seems to be doing all the right things. Like he after his loss, he like jumped on the cage and started going crazy. What do you make of him technically as a fighter, though? If you've seen much of him.
So I can't talk a lot about people that I've never actually met.
Sure.
I always tell people that from the outside, what I've seen. He's always been polite to me. In terms of how he presents himself, he understands he needs to be a brand, so he's doing the right thing. In terms of when I see him fight, I do believe that he's in a typical South African gym.
Sure.
Where they want to hold on to a superstar because they think that they're doing everything right, and that is eventually going to cause him to not succeed to his fullest degree. At the end of the day, what really, not putting these people down, but what really do they know? Who is he sparring with? Who's pushing him? All of these type of things, and of course, whoever his coach is, I don't know who he is, but he's going to have something to say about that, and that type of stuff. But you can't be naive. He's a talent. Jacobs is a talent.
Sure.
So he's in a very small pond right now. You need to release him into the sea so he can grow into a bigger fish.
I'm smiling as you're saying this because, as always, I got into a spat with someone online about this straight after his last fight, and I was kind of saying that was inevitable. Nerek Simoes is, with all due respect to Nerek, he's not a top 5 guy. Look, he's going that way, I would assume, but he comes from a very respectable gym, and he will know the difference between getting lured into like a stand-up war when it's not his game and getting the fight won, which is I think what he did. And in that, I was kind of saying, it would really help someone like Faiz Jacobs to perhaps look for a bigger gym for those exact reasons. Someone who's got a better understanding, having more legitimate sparring partners on a daily basis, an MMA-based gym that's been around, that knows what they're doing. And they're kind of saying to me, he's loyal to his gym, and I'm like, I get that. But that loyalty, if he's in his mind, he's going to become this great fighter, he's not going to get him there. That's the reality of the game. Unfortunately, that's not. Look, maybe his coach is the next up-and-coming great coach. Who knows? But it's exactly what you said. Who's on the mat with him? What are they doing?
I've seen this so many times. So, loyalty is a massive thing. Okay. But loyalty is 2 ways. as a fighter, I must be loyal to my trainer. But as a trainer, the trainer needs to be loyal to the fighter. So as a trainer, are you really loyal to your fighter when you know he's not getting the quality training? You got to be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and does that mean moving to a bigger camp, or not even a bigger camp, just more intelligent camp, doesn't mean that he has to leave the people that are always been loyal to him. It's about those people going with him, maybe. I mean, I'm in that same situation, you know. I've been in the industry in South Africa basically since it blown up, and I tell my guys to go overseas all the bloody time. Martin Van Staden's now in Team Alpha Male, has been there for 6 weeks. Like, I'm not insecure with what I provide.
Sure.
If you, as a coach, if you're not insecure with what you provide, your fighter will always be with you, you know. So Faiz, for him going somewhere else and his coach says no, that means that his coach is very insecure of what he is providing to his athlete.
Sure. Yeah, and I think it's it's such a weird thing, because it's a lot of guys need to be open-minded, you know, and it's for me it's quite sad, because even I said to whoever I was having the argument with, I can't even remember, and I was saying to him, like, look, but I'm not saying that he must tell his coach, sorry, fuck you, I'm out of here. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a whole other world out there, you know what I mean? You're in this little circle training with whoever you're training with. You've obviously got a talent. Surely you want to embetter that, and surely you want to seek something out to embetter that, you know. It was quite a, you know, like eventually I'm just like, throwing the towel, because you're speaking on deaf ears, you know. Nobody's like, everyone thinks you're trying to, I'm not trying to screw anybody over.
Poach
Yeah,
and
exactly.
screw someone over.
Exactly.
And look, bottom line, he's a talented kid. Is he a little bit more overconfident than his talent? I do believe so. Can he be a super talented athlete? 100%. A lot of people can. But you got to make the right choices, and you got to be in the right places.
Sure.
It comes down to that, man.
Yeah, 100%, man. Anyway, the first fight, the heavyweights, Elvis Moya versus the German fella. Good luck to anybody trying to say his name. I'll leave that to Cyrus Fries and
Yeah.
Dirk. Good luck. It's obviously, it's for me, Elvis, it seems like he's in a strange place again. He's changed camps. I don't know who he's with. Mark Robinson a little bit. He's training with like Van Damme and Bowie a little bit. So there's obviously a change for Elvis. What do you think about a fight like that for Elvis? Because obviously he's come such a long way. Now you're getting a new unknown. I mean, even when you see this heavyweight, like a guy like this, you know, he looks like a monster. But what do we know about him? We don't know anything. He's 3-0, I think, as a professional. Tough things to have a look at.
It's the same. It's the same situation now in the fighter series. You know, Max came in, record, so forth, big name. What happened there? You know, like, I don't really know the German guy. I've got to do the studies on him and actually understand who he is. Moya's a gamer. We've seen that with many fights. I just don't know, buddy. I don't know the international, actually, regarding with the whole card. I haven't really studied many of the guys, except for the guys that we're going against. And, you know, the thing is, obviously, we all know if Moya connects, guys sleep.
Good night, Sally.
But if, you know, Moya's on his back, what's actually going to happen? You never know with Elvis's fights, you know. I still think he's got that boxing mentality where he thinks it's a 12-round, a 10-round fight.
Yeah, sure.
You know, for me, once that first round starts, you got 2 minutes to get your range, distance, and comfortability. But after that, you gotta go, man. You gotta get your either your points, or you gotta go in for the kill. And if you're gonna try and wait it out like a boxing match. Fans don't dig that, and judges don't dig that.
Yeah, sure. Elvis is a strange one. It's almost like which Elvis shows up on the night kind of thing.
That's it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, sure. And the next fight is a bit of a dead rubber. I don't know who this BK guy is. No, I'm joking. Bit of a last minute entry, which is always difficult. I mean, Magna Alves, we've seen him here. When was the last time he was here? He fought Bursky. It was the last time, eh? And he didn't look bad. High energy. That's what, you know, what do you expect from that fight? People ask me, I'm like, extremely high energy. That's what I expect.
Yeah, like BK's had a little bit of bear run. Two of his opponents dropped out due to
Fear.
other political bullshit. But so I think he's just excited to have a fight. He's on a 3-win streak now. The Brazilian is tough.
Yeah.
He's not going to give up. He's got experience, but I've been watching him for a while now. He hasn't been training, regardless of what anyone says. I see everything, and he's he's holding pads in a park for clients.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Like, I know he's just taking this fight because he wants to be on a fight card. No one else is offering him fights except for EFC.
Sure.
So, also I don't know when he's arriving. And the biggest mistakes that I've realized with the internationals, they don't respect the altitude here, man.
Yeah, geez, man. I've been, it's still one of the funniest things for me. Christian Holly, I asked him, I said to him, have you considered the altitude? Oh, he lives in Spain, an hour's drive from a place that's 300 meters above sea level. I'm like, that's great, but are you training there? What's going on? And the first thing he said at the press conference after the fight was like, no, the altitude got to him. And I was like, but people have said that to you, Don't mistake the amount of altitude that happens here. Carl Eleanor, speaking to him quite a bit, and even he was saying to me, he's like, the altitude is hectic. Like, you don't realize until you like get into the last few rounds and your lungs are starting to close.
Yeah.
I see the guys are coming out generally a lot earlier now. Like, I think the guys will, what's today, Thursday, most of the internationals will arrive by tomorrow, so they've got quite a long stretch here, which makes a lot of sense, But geez, man, guys, yes, they neglect that altitude hectically.
And we've seen it a few times with a few fights. And the thing with this fight with BK can go 10 rounds.
Yeah.
He can.
Sure.
Yeah, he's an Energizer bunny. And, man, if the Brazilian gasses, he's in big trouble.
Sure.
Also, he's got to cut weight,
Yeah.
Is he fighting at 57? I don't think the Bursky fight was at 57 the last time. So he's got to cut weight. BK is a very small 57. He could actually go a division down, but that's the cards are dealt with him with that division, and he's doing well in that division as well. He's got a high pace from round one. He's very scrambly. He's got a chin on him, and if you make a mistake, you're gonna go fly.
They actually, just on that, I just thought about something now. It was Lutando Bika as well. He as well, when they fought, he was like, no, the altitude really got me. I'm like, but you're from PE, like, you should know these things, you know.
Yeah.
It was quite funny to see him. I was like, he just, obviously it's a twofold attack with BK, I think, because if you're coming up dealing with altitude and you've still got to deal with his pace at the same time.
That's it, man.
Rather them than me. No thanks. This is quite an interesting one for me. Dion Brunning and Big Tasty Gavin Hughes. Obviously, again, the unknown Dion Brunning. I believe that this wasn't the initial fight they wanted to set out, but this is now being billed as a
big fight,
as a contender fight, which is very strange for me because Dion Brunning is obviously he's definitely got some talent about him, but if he wins that, is he really the contender you wanted to see in that division?
Well,
I think he's a black belt.
He's a nice guy. I met him on the show actually with Ishad. He's a very nice guy. But who is he really fought? His last fight was Sizwe. Sizwe is like...
No, and he fought Regis Muyambo before that, I think.
So his last fight, two guys. Sizwe is like, should be a feather, but fights at welter because he's too lazy to train. He didn't finish Sizwe. Yes, Sizwe is a zombie, but he didn't finish him, and he's actually big, this guy. I don't know about a contendership, but hey, if he beats this guy, then maybe so. The one thing that is irritating me is his internationals are getting an easy ride here, and it really irritates me because you got a guy like BK, 3-win streak. So this international beats him, then what is in for title shot? Like, that's literally what's happening right now. We've had a few times that internationals just fly in for title shots. I know it's a business, but it just really irritates me because there's guys that have put in the work. and they're getting pushed to the side because this guy's from Britain. Like, who really cares?
Sure.
You know, like.
Sure. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. I know there's been a lot of outcry about that. You know, guys coming in, taking one fight, notching up a win, and then going straight for straight for the title. The main event is like that as well. And I suspect for that Murray that's fighting Boyd Allen, it'll be something similar. If he somehow manages to beat Boyd Allen, people are going to be crying for title shots. Will the same happen for Boyd? We wait to see.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I still think guys need like 3-4 win streaks to get title shots.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it is in a lot of promotions. Look, EFC's a business; they know what they're doing, but I just don't agree on that part. You know, some guy puts in work, and the other guy doesn't put in that much work and gets the same reward. I don't really agree on that, regardless of what his record is. In a promotion, that's what. So, for instance, if you go into the UFC and you 10-0, if you win 2 fights, you get a title shot. No, you don't.
Yeah,
you don't.
Exactly.
And your record starts while you enter that promotion.
Sure.
You know what I mean? What, you beat the number 1 contender? Okay, so what? The number 1 contender could have had a off night. Like, that's the sport. That is the sport.
Sure.
People don't realize.
What do you make of that main event? You guys have obviously had a bit of business with champion Dolce, and it's, I don't know, champion is such a weird one for me because I mean obviously he's an athlete and he's quite a freak athlete, you know, but technically I struggle to see it. You know what I mean? Like,
so I think champion's last fight was luck.
The knockout of...
I don't know how guys go, oh, he slipped this. No, he didn't. He literally ducked his head and just closed his eyes and swung and connected. He is a freak of nature.
Yeah.
And he is explosive and he is strong. And if he connects, we've seen it, you go to sleep. If he throws you, that, you know, he can throw. So afterwards, I saw some comments on people saying that yes, his timing was so good and he slipped this punch, and I was like, what on earth are you guys actually watching? Because I saw eyes closed, desperate, swing, connect, guy sleeps.
Sure.
Good on him, good on Dolce. He won, so good on him. But I think Dolce's in the wrong division, to be honest. He doesn't cut at all. I think he actually weighs in at 83. I think he will be an absolute beast at middleweight if he had the discipline to cut. Because, you know, the guy he's fighting now, he is a big human.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
He is a big human. And, yeah, I mean, Dolce can do what he did before, but I just don't see it going that way, you know.
Yeah, sure. Stuart Austin, I think you were saying he comes down, he walks around at 105, 106, something like that. Because you were saying to me, like, obviously he's fought quite a lot of heavyweight, and the biggest reason why he wanted to change to light heavyweight was he actually struggled to get his weight up to like 110, 112 to like stay in that sort of range. So he's a big lad, man, and he's like, I was quite impressed with his last fight. I thought he obviously he broke his foot in the first round or something like that, which he said hindered him. You know, I don't really read into too much of that shit, but to take such a fight against like Elvis Moyo when you're giving up a lot of weight, you know, and still have your weight quite comfortably, you know. I would have liked to have seen him try and finish that fight a little bit more, but, you know, like he says, his foot. So I think it's going to be a bit of a tough fight because champion, a lot of guys forget, for me personally, is that he's not a guy who actually likes to engage. You know what I mean? He does sit back quite a lot, you know, and and I think Stuart Austin put it out quite clearly. He's like, if he's going to back up, I'm going to chew him up all day, and I think he's got a bit of like fight IQ. You know what I mean? He'll attack his legs and he'll do the right job from the outside. And
so, exactly how I break down fighters, and I've never really expressed this to anyone other than my fight team, is that exactly what you're talking about. You mentioned a very important aspect, which is fight IQ, intelligence. So for me, there's 4 concepts when I look at an opponent or my own student. And the first component is aggression. So you have aggression and then conditioning. Now these two concepts, I believe, are 70% of fights. So if you're aggressive and you have good conditioning, you can kind of win a lot of fights right now. And a perfect example of this is Vanderlei Silva and Dolce.
Sure.
Very physical, very aggressive, and they did well and they're doing well. The next components will be intelligence and then mastery. And all of these are broken down into detail. The 70% means that I believe the fighters have done very well with these two concepts. Like I said, examples is Vanderlei, and for us is Dolce. But they don't have much intelligence or mastery. Mastery is broken down into aspects like striking, BJJ, wrestling, and then these will be broken down into greater detail. Intelligence is, to me, the most important concept, and is what I call the sixth sense concept for a fighter. If a fighter has heart experience, knows how to control the fight, control opponents' emotions and their emotions, and so forth. This is a method that we use to break down athletes, and I kind of use a chart to do all of this, and it helps to understand people, like basically what you need to do, and exactly basically what you brought up right now.
Yeah, sure. And I think fight IQ is such a massive thing. Like people, like they can't really see enough. For me, Stuart Austin looked like he had a very high fight IQ. He knows what he wants to do. He knows where he needs to get, and he knows how he needs to get it done. I don't really see that too much in Champion. Again, it's, I don't know much about his gym, but it's the kind of gym where I don't really know what exposure he's getting, you know what I mean? You see him doing some judo with some other Congolese dudes, and
what more judo do you need to do?
Yeah.
What more judo do you need to do if you're a black belt judo at his level right now? And the judo scene in the mixed martial art world is not high.
Yeah.
You should be working on your weaknesses anyway. But let's take him and Norman Chef Vessels, for instance. What fight IQ did he have there?
Yeah.
His last fight when he knocked his opponent out, what fight IQ was there? Exactly what you're saying. So it's going to be an interesting fight. I just think Stuart's gonna take it personally.
Yeah. Well, there you have it. You can put your bets down on Richie Quan's word. Well, cool, Richie. That's pretty much it for today, man. I just want to say happy birthday again, and thanks very much for your time and for your service to South African MMA.
Thank you very much, man.
I think MMA in this country owes you a great debt that I don't think we'll ever be able to repay, and we thank you for all your work.
Yeah, I don't think there's a debt. It's more just guys need to keep doing their thing and love the sport. Train every day. It's not about the fight game. It's about just loving martial arts and being healthy, and just want to tell everyone to train every day and enjoy it.
Train hard, work hard, you bitches.
Yeah. Cool,
man.
Thanks,
We're
buddy.
out. Shut,
Cheers.